welcome. I promised that we would get a new Max 101 series for you, so here you go. This is episode number 1. Today we're going to be talking about the fleet of TriMet's Max vehicles, which is, we are talking about Portland, Oregon's light rail system. And during the course of this video, I will be showing you clips that I have filmed over the last several years of all these types of trains as we go along today. So TriMet has train cars that are designated as Type 1, Type 2, and so on and so on. So we're first going to start off by talking about the Type 1s. These are the original train cars purchased for Portland's Max Light Rail that opened in 1986. The first of these train cars arrived in Portland in 1984. They are Bombardier, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and have an unknown model number. These trains are also high floor, meaning they have stair steps at all the doors. So at one point in time, there were wheelchair elevators, wheelchair lifts, at every single Max station so that wheelchair users could use the trains, but those have since been removed. Inside, you can see it has old fluorescent lights and a very loud HVAC system. Take a listen. These are the only kind of trains in TriMet's fleet that do not feature baseboard heating. In fact, there never used to be air conditioning or heating on the Type 1s at all. Once the Type 2 Max cars came out, they came stock with air conditioning, and so they were retrofitted into the Type 1s to have that kind of luxury that the Type 1s did not have. What's interesting about these high-floor train cars is there's actually more seats than any other type of train car. There are 76 seats in a Type 1 Max car, and there are 6 areas to stand with a bike. That's more than any other train car, seats and areas for bikes. There are 26 Type 1s. They are numbered 101 through 126. These are planned to be officially retired by about 2023. Next up is the Type 2s. There are more Type 2s than any other type of train in the fleet. Originally, there were 39 train cars that were purchased for the Max extension out to Hillsboro. This gradually scaled up to 52 cars, which is what we see today, by the time the Max Red Line opened in 2001. These trains originally entered service sometime in 1997 and was North America's first ever kind of train to feature automatic ramps, also called bridge plates, that extend from the train doors to the station platform for wheelchair access. The brand that makes these trains is called Siemens, and the model number for this train was originally SD600, but they've since been updated over the years to basically resemble more of an SD660 model, which we'll get into later. Originally, the Type 2 train cars had 72 seats, but 8 of the seats were removed in a later renovation to upgrade the train cars to have 4 bike racks. All the types of train cars from this series forward all have 4 areas for bikes. This was also the first type of train to use what's known as regenerative braking, which is basically just converting the energy from the train to be used in the overhead catenary wire, which in effect slows down the train and is just more energy efficient. There are 52 Type 2 train cars numbered 201 through 252. And now the Type 3s. Well, at a quick glance, these things look exactly the same as the Type 2s. In fact, even at a long glance, they still look the same. These trains are also Siemens SD660. Now, TriMet introduced a new paint color scheme to paint their buses and trains with in the early 2000s. And these kind of train cars entered service in September 2003. So that's one way of telling the difference between a Type 2 and a Type 3. Type 2 train cars still have TriMet's old paint stripes that they used throughout the 90s and 80s, but the Type 3s have the newer color scheme with the blue and the yellow. Now that is true only most of the time. There are a couple of Type 2s with the newer paint, but we'll get into that a little later. That's a topic for a whole other video. Other minor upgrades include an updated air conditioning system, updated brakes, raised seat backs. You'll notice the Type 2 seats don't go as high as the Type 3 seats. And also they have passenger counters above the doors to determine how many passengers pass in and out of the trains on any given day. Now obviously these trains are low floor just like the Type 2s. So a Type 1 is a high floor train car with stair steps at the doors. So to make the trains wheelchair accessible, a Type 1 train car must be connected to a Type 2 or Type 3. Now Type 2s and 3s can be connected with each other, and often are, but never will they ever connect two Type 1s together or run Type 1s as a single car train, because then they are not wheelchair accessible. You can see why they want to retire the Type 1s, because this can become kind of annoying, especially for people that use wheelchairs all the time. The best solution for this is, if you use a wheelchair, to wait around the middle of the platform. In case there is a Type 1 train, you can move closer to one of the other train cars, and you wouldn't have to go down an entire train car just because the front one is a Type 1. There are 64 seats in these train cars, same as the Type 2, same layout and everything, and are numbered 301 through 327. Now onto the Type 4s. Look at these things. These entered in 2009 and feature a much more sleek design and other enhanced features. The model number for these trains are Siemens S70. These are actually used quite commonly on other light rail systems around the country. Places like Salt Lake City, Seattle, San Diego, Charlotte, North Carolina, plenty of places around the world use these kind of trains, with minor adjustments, but they all are right around the same. Now these train cars feature something very unique. There's a driver cab in the front of the train car, and normally these types of trains are symmetrical, which this mostly is, except that in the back there's just more seating. There's only one driver cab per train car, meaning these have to be coupled up with either another Type 4 or a Type 5. And while they actually technically can be connected with the Type 1s, 2s, and 3s, we'll get into reasons later as to why they don't do it. And while this all sounds cool, and it definitely looks cool, take a look at some of the seats. Some of these things are really cramped, and this thing just has 68 seats, which is 4 more than the Type 2s and 3s, and that's with the driver cabs removed. So even though you gain a few extra seats, they had to remove an entire driver cab just to reach the same capacity as the older trains. So it's not all great. There are some major flaws with the Type 4s, but the ride quality is much smoother. It takes corners much better, and starts up, slows down, all that kind of stuff much smoother than the older train car types, and they just sound cooler. The Type 4s are numbered 401 through 422. Type 5s. These are the newest kinds of train cars to be running on Portland streets. These entered service in 2015 and are also the Siemens S70 model, just with minor upgrades. Some of these upgrades include an enhanced air conditioning system that's much quieter than on the original Type 4s. There's a seating upgrade that kind of rearranges how the seats are in the middle of the train to increase the number of seats to 72, which is closer to what the Type 1s were. And some of the windows were upgraded so that there was less blind spots for the drivers. This is also one of those types of trains where there's only a driver cab on one end of the train and seating in the other area. There are 18 Type 5 train cars numbered 501 through... No, that's not how they're numbered. The 18 train car numbers are 521 through 538. Why did they not number them 501 through 518? During planning of constructing the Type 5 train cars, downtown Portland was still running vintage trolleys, which were numbered 511 through 514. So to avoid confusion, they just started the numbering system at 521 and had the 18 train cars go all the way up through 538. Now, an interesting note about some of the older train cars is if you watch an older video like this one, you'll see that they used to have mechanical roll signs in the middle of their trains and in the front and backs of the trains. Now, during 2014 to 16, There was an overhaul project for the Max to remove these old roll signs and replace them with digital signs that can be easily changed. The mechanical aspect of it is removed, so you don't have to worry about them breaking down or getting stuck or doing weird things, which I have a video on this channel of it doing really weird things. It just prevents all that, and it just looks much nicer and looks just like how the Type 4s and 5s already looked, with the orange lettering and the square designating what color line you're on. Blue, red, yellow, green, or orange. And now for the future trains. Type 6. There will be 26 Type 6 trains that will enter service to replace all 26 of the Type 1s. These will be numbered 601 through 626. These are going to use Siemens S700 models and are designed to just replace the old trains. They will have many advantages that these older trains don't. None of them have been delivered at this point in time, but we could see these Type 6 trains in Portland as early as 2021 or 2022. What's interesting is that TriMet is doing a Red Line project where they're going to extend the Red Line a little bit further out into Hillsboro and doing some adjustments at the Gateway station in Northeast Portland. And for this, they said they were going to purchase 8 new light rail vehicles, but they didn't say what kind. Are they going to be Type 5s? Are they going to be Type 6s? They're going to purchase 8 more of them. So the Type 6s could go 601 through 634. Or maybe they'll be Type 7s, or, I don't really know how that's exactly going to work, but we'll see and find out later as the trains arrive into Portland. And the Red Line project is scheduled to be done around 2023 or 24. I hope to have taught you some stuff today. I have some more stuff for you next time, of course. We have some new videos for you that'll be coming soon. No real upload schedule on these. I kind of just post them as I get done with them. Thank you for watching this new series. If you are enjoying this, let me know. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one, next episode of Max 101.